Sakamoto Days is one of the best new-gen manga out right now, with many claiming that it might just be the next big manga. And so, considering all the praise its fans give it, and my own personal love for the series, I wanted to take today to explore just exactly why we love Sakamoto Days. In my exploration of why Sakamoto Days is so loved, I came to the conclusion that it boils down to three main reasons. The first, and generally most easily appreciated, is its fights. Show anyone a panel from just about any Sakamoto Days fight, and you can expect them to say that it looks pretty cool. You don't need to have the context of the story, and you don't need to be emotionally invested in the characters to see that Sakamoto Days fights are just cool. On a surface level read, anyone can appreciate the dynamic and unique paneling, the creative uses of the environment and characters' abilities, and an effect that I like to call big panels. Big panels are not just big in the sense that they take up a whole page or even 2 pages, but are big in what they show. These panels, when used, typically show a sudden or quick movement that usually inspires a mixture of surprise, awe, and hype when seen by the reader. And when Suzuki draws them, they look incredible. In general, Sakamoto Days fights are just really well done. The movements have a strong sense of speed and strength while still maintaining clarity. The interspersed uses of big panels make for some incredibly memorable moments. The actions that the characters do in these fights are over the top in a way that makes them so appealing. The fights are well choreographed, each strike feels deliberate, and the manga has some incredibly intricate hand-to-hand scenes that rivals even a series like JJK. Even the actual areas that the fights take place in are unique and make for some really cool locations. But the fights just looking cool isn't enough to explain why we love Sakamoto Days. Instead, to get a more complete picture of what really makes Sakamoto Days so loved, we need to take a look at reason number 2, the story. The story of Sakamoto Days initially starts out as something pretty lighthearted, literally going through a day in the life of Sakamoto as he tends to his convenience store and helps out the neighborhood. His former assassin antics are treated as just that, antics, and an overarching plot with long-lasting villains and a desired end goal isn't really shown. That is, until a 1 billion yen bounty is placed on Sakamoto, completely changing the course of the story and his life. From that point onward, the story becomes more and more intricate. The Order is introduced, acting as the pinnacle of the story's power and behaving as an anti-hero group that plays a major role in the assassin world. Along with them, Slur's gang is introduced, being the impetus behind Sakamoto's bounty and triggering a ton of the major arcs. And in general, Sakamoto Days goes from a gag manga that essentially has no plot to one brimming with multiple subplots and open ends for fans to speculate on. But I can't really go farther into the story without delving into some spoilers, so skip to this timestamp if you want to avoid them. For those who don't care about spoilers, here's what I think of the story right now. It's fire. As of the Okutabi Museum arc, the story has been crazy. I honestly think we're in the middle of another Shibuya type arc, and I'm all for it. Nagumo's death fake-out was such a great moment, and prior to this arc, Slur's multiple personality reveal added another dimension to his character. What was initially just an attempt to remove Sakamoto's bounty has become something so much more complex, and it's great. The stakes have risen to an all-time high, and I'm actually concerned that an Order member might die. On top of that, we have Nagumo's secret harboring of Yoshimura that seems to hint at the possibility of an even greater motive or person that Nagumo works for, which honestly really excites me. There's just so many directions Suzuki could take the story right now, and assuming he manages to make the current arc a good one, which I think he will, I think the story is only going up from here. So in general, Sakamoto Days has a fantastic story with some incredible moments, interesting plot points, and the potential to become even better. But the fights and story can be nothing without great characters, which brings us to our third point. Sakamoto Days characters are just really good. Take Sakamoto and Shin for example. They both have recognizable designs, and Shin is legitimately drippy in like every arc. They both have an enjoyable dynamic with both each other and just generally likable personalities, and some of the coolest moments in the manga. Sakamoto's down-to-earth, laid-back personality is contrasted so well by his fierce desire to protect those that he cares about, which not only makes for some compelling story moments, but some really entertaining fights as well. Shin's youthful vigor mixes well with his admiration for Sakamoto, and it's genuinely nice to see his growth as a fighter. and those are literally just 2 characters. I'll run through some of the other characters that I really like, which will include some spoilers, so skip this time if you want to avoid that. Nagumo. What can I say? I literally made a video explaining why I love this guy so much. This guy is the GOAT. His introduction has some incredible characterization, immediately letting readers know that while he's playful and loves to lie, he is also incredibly strong. His recent fight with Gaku was peak, and I can't wait to see what role he'll play in the future. Shishiba. Another GOAT. His fight with Yotsumura is easily a top 5 of the series, and I think he'll play a pretty big role in the current arc. Pulling Kuruma through the wall was dope, and I love his dynamic with Osaragi as well. The rest of the order. Dogs. All of them are dogs. Takamura has literally 0 legible lines of dialogue, and yet he has made such a big impact on the story. Osaragi is continuously entertaining to watch fight, and I love her dynamic with just the world around her. Hio was a real one in this fight against Kumanomi. Yotsumura legitimately has some of the coldest panels in the series, a fire backstory, and a great fight. Kendaka was just really cool, and his super speed made his fight really entertaining to watch. And Kanaguri, while I kinda hate him, is hard to disrespect with his strength and passion for filmmaking. The only member I'm kind of iffy on is Kamihate, and that's purely because they seem to be closer to a gag character, but they definitely aren't a bad character. Slur and his gang. These guys are a great villain group. I love how Suzuki portrays them as friends that hang out outside of being villains. They aren't just bad guys for the sake of being evil, they're real people. It gives them an extra layer of depth beyond just being the bad guys, and each of them have a unique design, weapon, and fighting style, and just a certain flair with the way they act in the story. Gaku in particular has been super cool this arc, and while he lost his fight against Goat Gumo, I honestly liked his character more during the fight. He was just really cool. As a whole, it's hard not to be emotionally invested in these characters. Sakamoto and Shin are easy to root for, and even some of the more morally dubious characters have a level of charm and charisma that makes them hard to flat out hate. And even if you were heartless, someone that is potentially a sociopath, it's hard to deny that Sakamoto Days characters are just cool. They have cool movements, they do cool things, and they just look cool. Suzuki has done a great job creating a diverse, interesting, and most importantly, entertaining cast that holds everything else in the manga together and helps to explain just why we love Sakamoto Days.